Imagine a place so secure, so tightly controlled, that even the guards whisper its name with a sense of fear and respect. This is Black Dolphin Prison, Russia's most notorious fortress for the most dangerous criminals on Earth. Located near the Kazakhstan border, Black Dolphin holds over 700 of Russia's worst murderers, rapists, and terrorists, men who have committed more than 3,500 murders combined. But this is not just a prison, it's a place designed to break the human spirit. Every inmate here lives under constant surveillance. Cameras watch them 24 hours a day, even in their cells. They sleep behind 3 sets of steel doors in rooms that never go dark. The lights stay on all night, and prisoners must stand for daily head counts every 15 minutes. Even the way they move is unique. Bent at a 90-degree angle, hands cuffed behind their back, eyes fixed to the floor. They are never allowed to look directly at a guard or another inmate. It's not just security, it's psychological control. Prisoners spend 23 hours a day in their cells, allowed only 1 hour of exercise, inside a small, fenced cage under the open sky. For them, this is freedom. The guards here call it the point of no return, because no inmate ever leaves alive. Life inside Black Dolphin is a sentence to existence without hope. But beyond its brutality, Black Dolphin forces us to ask a deeper question. Where is the line between justice and cruelty? Can a place built to contain evil become evil itself? When people hear about Black Dolphin Prison, they imagine a high-security fortress, thick concrete walls, barbed wire, armed guards. But what truly defines this place is not just the strength of its walls, it's the complete, absolute control over every second of every prisoner's life. Black Dolphin is located near the border of Kazakhstan, far away from cities, deep inside a remote corner of Russia where escape is not just impossible, it's unthinkable. The prison stands surrounded by high walls topped with razor wire, guard towers at every corner, and motion sensors that track even the slightest movement. But the real power of this prison lies inside in its daily routine, a system built not only to prevent escape, but to erase resistance from the human mind. Every day in Black Dolphin begins the same way. At 6 a.m., lights blaze across every cell. There is no sunrise or sunset inside these walls. Time is controlled by artificial light. Prisoners are instantly ordered to stand. They must remain standing until given permission to sit. If they refuse or hesitate, alarms sound and guards enter. In Black Dolphin, hesitation is seen as rebellion. Each cell is a 5 by 10-foot space, small, cold, and metallic. Prisoners sleep on a narrow iron bed that is bolted to the wall. During the day, the bed is locked upright, forcing them to stand or sit on a hard stool. The walls are painted pale gray, the light never turns off, and a camera watches from every corner. The inmates are never alone, not even for a second. When it's time to move, a routine that happens several times a day, the control becomes even more intense. Prisoners are ordered out of their cells, their hands cuffed tightly behind their backs. Guards grab each man by the arms, forcing him to bend at a 90-degree angle. His head faces downward, eyes locked on the floor. He is led through the hallway in silence, never allowed to look left or right, never allowed to speak. Even when passing other inmates, they must keep their gaze fixed downward, as if the simple act of eye contact could ignite chaos. This posture, bent and silent, is the rule for every movement. From the cell to the interrogation room, from the cell to the shower, from the cell to the exercise cage. It is not just about safety. It's about domination. The guards must always be above, and the prisoner must always be below. Inside Black Dolphin, even basic human actions are under surveillance. When prisoners eat, they do it under direct supervision. They eat simple meals, usually bread, soup, and porridge, handed through a small slot in the cell door. There are no metal utensils, no plates, and no privacy. Every bite, every movement, every sound is observed. Each day, the guards conduct multiple cell inspections. They check every corner, every object, every piece of clothing. Nothing personal is allowed. No photos, no books without approval, no letters from the outside world unless screened by officers. The inmates live stripped of identity. Their names are replaced by numbers, and their pasts, no matter how violent or tragic, are erased in silence. Security at Black Dolphin is also technological. Dozens of cameras monitor every hallway, every cell block, every exercise yard. Microphones pick up voices, footsteps, even breathing patterns. The guards inside the control room watch everything on a wall of screens, hundreds of small windows showing fragments of a world that never changes. They see every prisoner, every gesture, every blink of the eye. The exercise yard, the only moment prisoners see the sky, is a cage within a cage. It's a small, fenced enclosure surrounded by concrete walls and wire mesh overhead. Here, for 1 hour a day, the inmates are allowed to walk in circles, still handcuffed, still watched. There is no view beyond the walls, no sound except the echo of footsteps. The air outside feels like freedom, but it is a freedom measured and controlled. Black Dolphin's design ensures that escape is not just impossible, it's unimaginable. There are 3 separate security checkpoints between a prisoner and the outside world. Each door is opened by a different officer, using a different set of keys and never at the same time. Guards work in pairs, never alone, and each carries a panic button that can summon the entire unit in seconds. Even the guards follow strict rules. They are forbidden from speaking casually with inmates or showing emotion. Smiles, jokes, even eye contact are discouraged. Every word is professional, every movement rehearsed. The prison runs like a machine, emotionless, precise, and absolute. For many inmates, this extreme control becomes more suffocating than the punishment itself. Days blur into nights, weeks into months, and years into decades. Without human contact, without any power over their own lives, they slowly lose the ability to think freely. Psychologists say that this kind of confinement erases individuality. A man can live, but he stops being. Black Dolphin's control system is so effective that there hasn't been a single successful escape attempt in its modern history. No riots, no hostage situations, no rebellions. Silence is the rule. Order is the only language spoken. This is what makes Black Dolphin stand apart from every other prison in the world. It's not just a place that holds criminals, it's a system designed to remove freedom in every physical and psychological form. The walls keep the bodies inside, but the control keeps their minds imprisoned. Inside these walls, every heartbeat is regulated by command, every thought shaped by fear, and every moment consumed by the realization that nothing happens here without permission. If the iron bars, steel doors, and armed guards of Black Dolphin Prison represent control over the body, then the real power of this place lies deeper, in its ability to control the mind. Inside these walls, punishment isn't only about confinement, it's about erasing the concept of freedom from within. This is where psychological punishment begins, silent, invisible, and relentless. If the iron bars, steel doors, and armed guards of Black Dolphin Prison represent control over the body, then the real power of this place lies deeper, in its ability to control the mind. Inside these walls, punishment isn't only about confinement, it's about erasing the concept of freedom from within. This is where psychological punishment begins, silent, invisible, and relentless. From the moment an inmate enters Black Dolphin, he is stripped of everything that once made him human. His name is taken away and replaced by a number. His clothes, his possessions, even the memory of what sunlight feels like, all vanish in a process designed to shatter identity. The system doesn't just imprison men, it rewires them. The first thing that strikes new inmates is the light. It never goes off. Day and night are indistinguishable because inside Black Dolphin, time itself loses meaning. Bright fluorescent bulbs hum endlessly above the cells. They burn through every second, denying the prisoners the comfort of darkness, the natural rhythm of life. For the human mind, darkness is rest, renewal, but here there is no rest. The light becomes an interrogation that never ends. Sleep is shallow and restless. Guards walk the corridors every 15 minutes, peering into cells, making sure prisoners are alive and upright. Some inmates wake up dozens of times a night to the sound of keys, footsteps, or the voice of a guard ordering them to stand. Sleep deprivation becomes a slow poison. Over weeks, it dulls the senses. Over months, it erodes thought itself. There are no mirrors inside the cells. Prisoners can go years without seeing their own faces. Deprived of reflection, they begin to forget what they look like. The mind loses a point of reference. The self becomes abstract, fading into anonymity. This is not an accident. It is part of the design. Communication is nearly impossible. Prisoners cannot talk to each other, and they are forbidden to speak to guards except when ordered to. The silence is absolute, heavy and alive, pressing against the mind like a weight. For men who once lived loudly, violently, chaotically, this silence becomes unbearable. It amplifies guilt, anger, fear, until thought becomes an echo chamber of regret and despair. Each day follows the same pattern. Wake, stand, eat, sit, wait. No news from the outside world. No letters without inspection. No voices except those of guards giving orders. This endless repetition, the monotony of control, is designed to destroy any sense of time or progress. Weeks, months, and years merge into one continuous moment. For most prisoners, hope dissolves long before the years run out. Even the architecture of the prison contributes to psychological punishment. The hallways are narrow and windowless, painted in dull, colorless shades that flatten perspective. The ceilings are low, the air heavy with disinfectant. Every sound, footsteps, doors, chains, echoes through the corridors like reminders of captivity. The mind adapts to survive, but in doing so, it forgets how to dream. During rare interrogations or evaluations, inmates are taken from their cells in the same position, bent forward, eyes to the ground, hands cuffed tightly. They are not allowed to look at the guard's face or turn their head. Over time, this posture becomes a form of conditioning. They learn to associate submission with safety. The human instinct to resist is slowly replaced with mechanical obedience. Inside the cell, a prisoner is never alone, yet never in company. A camera watches from every angle, even when he eats or sleeps. The knowledge that he is being watched every second creates a constant tension, a paranoia that eats away at the mind. He cannot relax, cannot hide, cannot be unseen. Privacy, one of the last sanctuaries of human dignity, simply does not exist here. Some prisoners, after years inside, begin to develop what psychologists call institutional numbness, the gradual loss of emotional response. They stop reacting to pain, anger, or sadness. Their faces become expressionless, their voices monotone. In a strange way, the system succeeds. It neutralizes everything that made them unpredictable. But in doing so, it also erases the last trace of humanity. And yet, the human mind is stubborn. Even in this world of total control, small acts of rebellion persist. Some prisoners count days on the wall with invisible marks, or whisper prayers into the silence. Others talk to themselves, constructing conversations to fight the madness of isolation. These tiny acts, invisible to the guards, become a way to prove that the soul still exists, even when everything else has been taken away. The prison psychologists claim this routine is necessary, that men who have committed unspeakable crimes cannot be trusted with comfort or freedom. But as days turn to decades, Black Dolphin becomes a laboratory of the human psyche, a place where punishment transforms into psychological extinction. For the outside world, this is justice. For the men inside, it is existence without meaning. The constant light, the silence, the lack of human contact, all combine into a punishment worse than pain. It is the slow death of self-awareness, a punishment that doesn't leave scars but empties the soul from within. At Black Dolphin, the punishment is not execution. It's living every day with the knowledge that death would be a kind of mercy. The prison doesn't need whips or torture chambers. Its weapon is time, repetition, and isolation. Inside these gray walls, the mind itself becomes the battlefield. And for most, it's a battle already lost. Inside the walls of Black Dolphin Prison live some of the most feared men in modern Russian history. The inmates here are not ordinary criminals. They are the ones the rest of the world calls monsters. Each cell holds a story so dark that even the guards refuse to speak of it. Collectively, the men inside Black Dolphin are responsible for more than 3,500 murders. A number that feels almost impossible, yet it is real, documented, and contained behind these steel gates. These are the men who killed without remorse, who destroyed families, who committed acts so violent that even other prisoners fear their names. Serial killers, cannibals, child murderers, terrorists, all gathered under one roof, all serving life sentences. For them, Black Dolphin is not just a punishment, it is the end of existence. When a new inmate arrives, there are no welcoming words, no sense of beginning. He is led through the entrance blindfolded, head bent forward, arms restrained. The guards march him through narrow corridors that echo with the metallic sound of keys and boots. He cannot see where he is going, he cannot see the faces around him. The first thing he learns is that in this place he does not matter. Each prisoner's past has been meticulously documented. Some are former soldiers turned murderers. Others are organized crime figures or terrorists who planned attacks that killed dozens. But many are lone predators, men whose crimes shocked entire cities. One inmate strangled more than 50 victims. Another confessed to cannibalism after years of hiding bodies in the forests of Siberia. These are not legends, they are real people breathing behind iron bars. Yet inside Black Dolphin, their crimes no longer define their days. Time here is stripped of context. Whether a man killed one person or 100, he is treated the same, as someone who will never again walk free. The system sees no difference between degrees of evil. The sentence is absolute. Life without the possibility of parole, without the hope of redemption. In most prisons, even the most dangerous inmates form hierarchies, codes, or alliances. But at Black Dolphin there is no hierarchy. There are no prison gangs, no ranks, no underground order. The structure of control leaves no space for such systems to exist. Each prisoner is isolated, each communication monitored, each gesture observed. The men share the same fate but remain strangers to one another, invisible companions in the same cage of silence. Daily life is brutally consistent. At dawn, they stand to attention as guards enter. Their beds are locked upright, forcing them to remain on their feet. The routine never changes. Inspection, meal, inspection, exercise, inspection again. The repetition is mechanical, robotic. There is no privilege, no variation, no reward for good behavior, because good behavior means nothing when you will never be released. The exercise yard, a small concrete enclosure under open sky, is the only moment they breathe outside air. For 1 hour a day they move in circles, still handcuffed, still watched. Many use this hour not to stretch or talk, but to simply stare at the clouds. For some, it's the only proof that the world still exists beyond these walls. Over time, the physical differences between inmates blur. Muscles fade, hair turns gray, faces lose expression. They become uniform, the same haircut, the same clothing, the same silence. It's as if the prison slowly consumes individuality, leaving behind only bodies that follow orders. Yet beneath this uniformity lies something haunting. Many prisoners, after years in confinement, begin to remember what they've done. For the first time in their lives, there is no noise, no distraction, no escape, just silence and the weight of memory. Some whisper their crimes to themselves as if confessing to the walls. Others refuse to speak at all. In this place, the past is both a shadow and a companion. A few have tried to show remorse, writing letters to families of their victims, though such letters are rarely sent. The administration believes that remorse is irrelevant. The sentence has already erased the possibility of forgiveness. Justice here does not seek reform, it demands endurance. For the guards, interacting with these men requires emotional armor. They are trained not to see them as human beings but as potential threats. There is no conversation, no sympathy. Guards do not use names, they use numbers. The language of Black Dolphin is procedural, not personal. The purpose is not rehabilitation, it is containment. And yet, there are moments, rare and almost imperceptible, when the illusion of control cracks. A prisoner may laugh quietly during inspection, or hum a song from his childhood under his breath. In those moments, the guards are reminded, these are not ghosts or demons, they are men. Men who once walked free, who once had mothers, wives, children. Men who made choices that brought them here, but who still possess fragments of what they once were. But those fragments fade quickly. Inmates at Black Dolphin have no visits, no family contact, no photographs to hold on to. For many, the outside world stops existing within a few years. They stop asking about time, about seasons, about the date. Their world is reduced to metal, concrete, footsteps, and silence. In this prison, even death is controlled. When a prisoner dies, there are no funerals, no farewells. The body is removed quietly, the cell cleaned, and another man takes his place. The cycle continues, emotionless, efficient, and endless. Inside Black Dolphin, the prisoners are not only serving time, they are being erased by it. Slowly, systematically, their presence fades from the world. And though the walls may keep society safe from their crimes, they also create something else. A place where life exists without living, where men breathe without truly being alive. Black Dolphin Prison is more than a place of punishment. It's a mirror reflecting the darkest corners of justice and humanity. It forces the world to confront a question that has no easy answer. How far should society go in its quest to control evil? For many, the existence of a place like Black Dolphin feels justified. After all, these are not ordinary offenders. They are men who have taken innocent lives, destroyed families, and committed crimes so horrifying that words cannot fully capture them. To some, their suffering is deserved. To others, it is a warning, a symbol of absolute justice. But step closer, look deeper, and the moral lines begin to blur. Inside those gray corridors, punishment crosses from physical to existential. It is not just about keeping the dangerous away from society, it is about removing every trace of freedom, dignity, and selfhood from the individual. The inmates breathe, eat, and move, but only within limits set by others. Every moment of their existence is dictated by command. The result is not life imprisonment, it is life erased. The system claims this as security. It claims that such control prevents violence, escape, or rebellion. And perhaps it does. There are no riots here, no attempts at uprising. The order is perfect, the silence complete. Yet, behind that silence lies a haunting question. When a punishment becomes so absolute that it destroys what is human, does it still serve justice? Or does it become a form of cruelty disguised as law? Around the world, different prisons hold different philosophies. Some focus on reform and rehabilitation, believing that even the worst among us deserve a chance at change. Others, like Black Dolphin, represent the extreme opposite. They exist to contain, to suppress, to eliminate risk. Russia's approach is built on the belief that those who take life do not deserve the privileges of living freely ever again. But the deeper question remains: what happens to the soul of a nation that builds a system designed not just to punish, but to annihilate hope? Ethically, the debate stretches far beyond the walls of the prison. Is it humane to confine a man to a cell for life under constant light, constant watch, and total isolation? Some argue yes, that it's a fair exchange for the horrors they've inflicted. Others argue no, that such conditions strip away not only the prisoner's humanity but also that of those who enforce it. A guard working at Black Dolphin once said in an interview, "You cannot work here and stay the same person. Either you become like the walls, cold, gray and silent, or you break." His words reveal an uncomfortable truth. The system not only imprisons the criminals but also traps the people who guard them. The moral cost of maintaining such an environment is invisible but immense. Every day, men in uniform must suppress empathy to preserve order. They learn not to see prisoners as humans, only as potential threats. Over time, this emotional detachment becomes habit. And habits, once learned, rarely remain behind the walls. Philosophers often argue that the measure of a society's morality lies in how it treats its prisoners. If that is true, then Black Dolphin stands as both a warning and a question mark. It shows us what happens when justice becomes mechanical, when the focus on safety and control overshadows compassion and rehabilitation. There is no education program here, no therapy, no spiritual guidance. There is only survival. Some might say that's fair, that these men forfeited the right to kindness when they chose to destroy others. But even then, what do we gain as a society by ensuring that suffering never ends? Do we achieve justice, or do we simply replicate cruelty in a legal form? The moral paradox of Black Dolphin is that it protects the world by destroying life without ending it. It is execution stretched across decades. A punishment without death but also without redemption. Inmates do not die quickly, they fade slowly, their humanity peeling away layer by layer until only obedience remains. To the outside observer, the system appears flawless. No escapes, no riots, no chaos. Yet this perfection feels unnatural, almost sterile, like a laboratory where emotion has been removed for the sake of efficiency. It raises an even deeper question: can justice truly exist without mercy? Even among Russians, the debate is divided. Some see Black Dolphin as necessary, a fortress against evil. Others call it a living graveyard, a place that punishes not just the body but the soul. In documentaries, when journalists are allowed inside, the silence itself feels heavy, almost sacred, as if the air carries the weight of moral conflict. Each prisoner's story, no matter how terrible, forces us to reflect on our own nature. What separates justice from revenge? At what point does society's right to punish become its own form of violence? These questions have no simple answers, but inside Black Dolphin, they echo louder than the sound of closing doors. Perhaps the most unsettling truth is this: inside those walls, the line between good and evil begins to fade. The prisoners are criminals, yes, but the system that holds them is also built on suffering. Both sides exist within a cycle of control and punishment, feeding off one another, ensuring that neither can escape. In the end, Black Dolphin stands not just as a prison, but as a reflection of human extremes, of our capacity for order, for vengeance, and for fear. It reminds us that justice, when pushed too far, begins to resemble the very thing it seeks to destroy.